The hype is gone, the honeymoon phase is over, the Silver Frost expansion has released, and the level cap is 50. I think now is probably a good time to review Blade and Soul. That's why it took so long, guys, I swear. Blade and Soul finally released in North America and Europe a few months ago. It initially released in Korea in 2012 and is a martial arts MMORPG. It was supposed to release a lot earlier than it did, but the devs kind of just went into hibernation and then out of nowhere came back and said, hey guys, we're going to finish it now, so give us money, and then actually went on to finish it. So now we're in a world where we can finally play Blade and Soul, and it's got a lot of issues. Let's go slow and start with character customization. So customization has got people doing a lot of cool and creepy and just downright kind of weird shit. So if you're into making frightening characters or characters from your favorite show, then I'm sure you can have a blast with it. Now there are 4 races: Gon, Lin, Yun, and Jin. So the big race, the little race, the nature people, and the humans. The Yun are a female-only race, and that is the only gender-locked race. There are also 9 classes: Assassin, Blade Master, Kung Fu Master, Force Master, Blade Dancer, Summoner, Destroyer, and the 2 new classes, Soul Fighter and Warlock. All very unique, but not every race can be every class. These classes aren't traditional. There's no healer or DPS or tank, and while the Destroyer I guess technically counts as a tank, there are no traditional roles that you must queue up for. See, every class is powerful in its own way. Customization on the equipment side is actually pretty interesting. You can equip 1 weapon, 1 earring, 1 necklace, 1 ring, a belt, a bracelet, some other cosmetic items, a costume, and a soul shield. All these things, minus the costume and cosmetics, are upgradable. You'll never swap these items out except for the soul shield. You just make them stronger by combining items and gems into them. The soul shield is the exception to this because it has interchangeable parts. The soul shield is like a medium pizza. There are 8 fragments to the soul shield, and as you play, you'll find a multitude of ways to obtain them, like crafting, doing dungeons, buying them, and opening daily quest reward boxes. Different soul shield pieces all have different stats: health, crit percentage, damage boost, and everything else you can imagine. If you collect multiple pieces of the same soul shield, they will give you an even higher increase in certain stats. The more pieces you have of one, the more bonuses. The other equipment are again upgradable. There are 10 stages in one piece of equipment that is split into 2 sections of 5 stages. It's a little confusing, but it'll make sense. You can upgrade the equipment as much as you want from stage 1 to stage 5, but to move on to stage 6 through 10, you need to find a specific item obtainable only by a specific boss or only through a specific dungeon and a transformation stone, which I will explain later in crafting, and some other random ingredients. For example, if I wanted to break through my stage 5 dagger, I might need a blight dagger. If I wanted to break through my necklace, I might need a plague necklace. Grinding is still alive and well because the search for that weapon or jewelry you need is sometimes just utterly dreadful. See, the problem today is that there aren't as many people playing, which is abundantly clear for the lower levels. So if you need to kill a world boss for your equipment, you have to either over level to be able to beat it, or if you have nice faction mates or clan mates, you could ask them to help you, or some of them you can actually buy off the marketplace. When it comes to getting your breakthrough weapons, you have to open lock boxes you get at the end of a dungeon or from a Will of Fate if you're killing a world boss if you don't get the item through an auction in a dungeon, which I'll explain auctions later. But you have to open these boxes with keys you get by doing dailies, and it has just terrible RNG. However, there is a way to get the weapon you're looking for on the first try. You can use a special key obtainable on the marketplace, in daily quest reward boxes, or through a survey to have a 100% chance of getting the weapon you need. But I mean, these are really hard to get, and in the total time that I've been playing the game, I've only used 2. So most of the time you're going to be using plebeian keys to open the chest, which will give you a random item, and hopefully it's for your equipment and class, which can take a few dungeon runs to do. After you get the item you want, it doesn't end there. You also need to unseal the weapon with an unsealing charm before you can use it to break through. For other piece of shit equipment, you can just sacrifice it to your weapon and you don't need to unseal them, which is nice. But these keys and unsealing charms are obtainable through surveys, vendors, the marketplace, and repeatable quests. They aren't that hard to get, but I mean, don't go unsealing and unlocking everything you pick up, because I mean, you will run out fast. Next thing you know, your luck goes to shit. I mean, you've run a dungeon fucking 83 times and still can't manage to find the item you're looking for. Trust me, it's happened to me. It's the worst fucking thing I've ever experienced. Now, your costume of choice, while it doesn't change your stats in any way, only appearance, is actually a cool addition. See, near the beginning of the game, you make a choice between the Cerulean Order and the Crimson Order. The costumes are used to identify to other players who you align with. So if you're wearing your Cerulean clothing and a Crimson Order member is wearing his clothing, I mean, one of you just isn't getting out alive. Now, there are many more factions you'll find later in the game, and a lot of neutral clothing if you don't want to fight anybody. However, NPCs aren't the same. If they see you not wearing their clothing, they're gonna try to fucking kill you. So there's that. Once you don a costume, you not only fight the people of the opposing order, but you also fight the NPCs of that same opposing order. Killing people and NPCs of the opposing order gives you rep with your order, and you can get commendations for killing that opposing order. It kind of sounds like I've repeated the same words over and over again, but that's kind of for real how I can explain it. Use these commendations to buy things. So if I were part of the Cerulean Order, I could kill Crimson Order NPCs to get Crimson commendations. Now, let's move on to the graphics, because the graphics, on the other hand, are not great and not really pleasant to look at. It's definitely nothing like a Guild Wars 2 or Final Fantasy 14, where the scenery just kind of mesmerizes you. Most of the regions are just kind of bland and dead, and the graphics don't help it out at all. Now, there are 5 preset settings in graphics, of course, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. The 1 preset causes characters to not have fingers or eyes, and it's actually pretty terrifying. The graphics get worse than just not looking good, however. The view distance is horrible, and things are popping in left and right and actually slowing my game down because of it. See, when I set the game to the 5 preset, I lag a little less than any other setting for a while, and there's less popping in, but eventually I have to go back to a 3 preset or lower because it starts to lag so much. My point being, the game is extremely inconsistent with what works. The reason for this is the game is running on the Unity Engine 3, which is a huge problem with a lot of things in one place, like players, NPCs, or mobs, which is kind of a problem for an MMO, and thus the game is clearly poorly optimized. There's just an unplayable amount of lag when fighting some bosses. In this clip, I'm on the 1 preset, and my ratio is 1280 by 720. But the frame rate is still terrible. I can play Alien Isolation on Ultra, but Blade & Soul lags on the 1 preset. See, if you don't play the game or stop watching this review altogether because of that, then I don't blame you one bit. It's incredibly infuriating. Before I go any further into gameplay and combat, I'm going to talk about the story, which at first, alright, I didn't care about, alright? Like every MMO, I'm not playing it for the story, but I'm not going to lie. I mean, that shit kind of pulled me in and had me getting all kinds of fucking emotions, alright? It's super anime and like a K-drama, but damn, is it entertaining. There's backstabbing, character death, and just lessons to be learned. There's still a lot of boring stuff in between, but when the story gets to one of its many climaxes, it's fun as hell to watch. The story after level 45 is particularly awesome and charming and legitimately funny.
I saw you chatting it up with them like fucking buddies, and you have the fucking nerve to say that to me? Do you know how much that woman is drunk? Hoodlums, dressing all fancy and acting like they fucking own the place. Same as every other dolled up out of the city.
The game kind of takes on a whole new face that makes you wish the whole damn game was like it. The worst part about the story is it's just one big wall. The story is a lot more integrated into the gameplay than I would like. See, once you complete a main quest, all of a sudden all these side quests pop up. This is because the main quest is triggering events, and so if you never do the story, then these people won't ever attack the city or do some ritual or commit some event that would need resolving by a side quest. They recently came out with the new area, Silverfrost Mountains, and I couldn't get there until I completed all the main quests up to level 45. I also couldn't get to this area, Misty Woods, until a main quest brought me here and unlocked a waypoint. It's kind of bullshit. Blade & Soul has free-to-play FOMA, alright? It's a very common condition in MMORPGs that are free-to-play, where they've taken this large world and compacted it into a very linear line. You do the quests in this city or region, that sends you to the next city or region, that sends you to the next city or region, and there's no straying from the path. I mean, they completely removed the ability to grind mobs for XP because you get such minimal amount of XP every kill, even in dungeons. So the only way to level up is, I mean, you guessed it, doing these boring ass quests. They just give you one way to play the game, and it turns kind of into a chore. And look, don't mind me sucking dick for a second here, but Guild Wars 2 did questing just so right. The game is far from linear. You can explore to level up, do dungeons, kill mobs, kill bosses, do quests, and even completely ignore the main quest if you so desired. Multiple playthroughs can garner different experiences in games like Guild Wars 2 and SWTOR. There's a reason to max multiple characters, but there's nothing charming like that in Blade & Soul. It's the same rehashed system of its predecessors that does not work, but they keep doing it because everyone just keeps falling for it. See, after you reach Silverfrost Mountains, there's just so much freedom, and the quests actually give a great amount of XP. 50,000 to 80,000 to 100,000. I feel like the chains that were binding me from liking the game kind of let me go, and I could actually enjoy figuring out what I wanted to do on any given day. I'm going to reiterate, but if the whole game were like this, I think it would be really enjoyable, but the grind from level 1 to 45 is so fucking bad, I can't make a recommendation solely on the end game part of the game. But anyways, let's move on to combat. Combat is basically the pinnacle of the game. It's the drawing factor for new players, whether back years ago or even now. It's freeform and it's challenging. The PvP is a lot of fun, and I'll delve into that whole shitfest in a bit. But the problem with the combat back a few months ago, and there are even some remnant issues still, and this is what usually happens with a lot of free MMOs, is that it could get really goddamn laggy, and more often than not it was. I used to feel like Darkside Phil when I played this game.
Oh my god, I was pressing buttons.
You know, sometimes I couldn't hit someone, sometimes I would lag back a few seconds, sometimes my ability would take a second to respawn, and then I just get turned into a fucking casserole. Another issue was the hit detection, which is, again, still an issue. I could literally be inside of some dude, and I couldn't hit them. It's the most frustrating thing, and I want to hit someone every time. I heard you can't do that right now. However, now that there aren't as many players, I actually have a lot more fun with the combat, and the problems have kind of mostly been fixed. See, the combat itself has a lot of quirks to it and things specifically unique to Blade & Soul itself. The ability trees, for example, are amazing. The ability will change depending on what you want and how you want to fight. It can be completely tailored to your playstyle. Do you want to do more damage but higher cooldowns, lower damage but lower cooldowns? Do you want to have damage based on poison stacks? Do you want knockdowns, dazes, stuns, or do you want lightning damage or fire damage? There's a ton of customization when it comes to combat that allows you to be unique and have your own style that works great for you. This is a good time to talk about the PvP game modes. Now, there are two game modes. Tag Team, which is a 3v3 arena mode, where one person from each team is in the arena, and you can tag in for 5 seconds and lend a helping hand, and swap in and out with your teammates. The other mode is 1v1, which is just you versus the other player fighting to win the best of 2. PvP is a great source of fun and XP, but there's just such a huge problem with it. I hated it when I was a lower level, and it's still just as shit now. There is absolutely no level separation. The game will pin level 20s and 30s against level 45s and 50s. Oh, but everyone is scaled to 50 either way. That shit doesn't matter. Higher levels still have more health because they're soul shields, better equipment, and max level abilities. I was standing still for at least a minute facing level 20, and he didn't even do a quarter damage of my health. When I was a low level, I've probably never been so mad at a game before. The combat is fun, but when you get stunned and dazed into holy hell where you can't make one fucking move or stand against someone, then how can you have fun? It's just so devastatingly unfair when these max levels have their pimped out characters out beyond a belief and are somehow still in bronze and silver, completely stomping lower levels. So if you queue into PvP and you are in a max level, just prepare to get fucking smashed. Now this is unless, of course, you encounter this very, very new and very, very real cancer in Blade and Soul. And you will, because I can confidently say I play more games with bots than I do with actual players. Seriously, they just stand there doing nothing, or they attack only in one direction. This is every single tag team match, and now even a lot of 1v1 matches. NCSoft really needs to upgrade their bot detection, because I'm just developing some horrible diseases. Speaking of diseases, the dungeons give me diabetes. First off, fire. Whoever came up with bidding instead of rolling for equipment. I can bid for an untradeable purple that isn't for my class. How, Sway? How did someone think that was a good idea? I watched the guy get absolutely jimmied for his money for his breakthrough weapon, and out of frustration, this poor man typed, "You can't even use that weapon," in all caps, because he can't just not bid for it. The chances of actually being even able to bid on your weapon are so low, it's wasting time not shelling out the gold. These people need this weapon, and other players will take advantage of that. Obviously. See, I thought MMOs fixed this shit, but Blade and Soul just came back and fucked it up again. In games where some thought was put in, you can't roll need on items you can't use, and it also leaves it all up to chance, not who has more money. Guys, I'm starting an Occupy Blade and Soul movement. Us 99%ers need some damn representation. On a serious note, there are two kinds of dungeons: 6-man regular dungeons and 4-man heroic dungeons, and they all have different bosses with different tactics that are legitimately difficult to beat. Before fighting some bosses, there will be these dragon blood heart statues, and when you press F on them, they will give you a heart, and you can have a maximum of 2 hearts. These hearts will be consumed when you lose all of your health, so normally when you would go down, you would need to use your chi to revive yourself or respawn somewhere else in the dungeon. Instead, they just get consumed and you regain full health. And for a lot of the bosses, the entrance to the stage where you fight the boss gets blocked by fire, so you can't just revive and walk back, and you also can't just go back and grab more hearts. And they really didn't cheap out on those bosses. They have some really interesting and difficult fights that if you and your team isn't on point on, or don't know what they're doing, they're gonna get wiped. It has happened to me plenty of times, but once you find that group that just fucking knows what's going on, it's a fun and still challenging experience, because one wrong move or delayed reaction could still get you killed. Now, a huge issue I have with the dungeons, and something I touched on earlier with XP gain, is that for every kill in or out of a dungeon is a few XP, from 1 to 5 XP each kill. It makes no sense. Every MMO I've played makes dungeons great for equipment and a viable place to gain XP, especially when you have an XP boost pop. But Blade and Soul is just the complete opposite. This goes back to what I said about one way to play the game. There's no point in queuing a dungeon unless you need a breakthrough weapon or have a daily for it. Other than that, it's a complete waste of time, and it does not help that there is only ever one daily for the dungeon after you do it for the first time. It's a few thousand XP for 10 to 20 minutes of work. There's barely any incentive to do the daily in the first place, unless of course you're a max level. Another stupid thing about dungeons is actually how you get into the dungeon. You have to go into the cross server lobby to get into the dungeon lobby to get into the actual dungeon. The game has way too many loading screens. Normally, when you queue for a dungeon, you can do that through the party finder, but there's never anyone using it because it's so much faster and easier to find someone through the cross server lobby. The dumb thing about the party finder is that it's only for your server, so it's basically impossible to compile a party, so you have to use the cross server lobby, which is great as a concept, but you need to sit through a loading screen to get into the cross server lobby. And then it puts you into this limbo lobby dungeon once you find a party, so you can store stuff, sell stuff, buy stuff, and grab the daily you need, and then go through another loading screen to get into the actual dungeon. Not to mention, if you are in the dungeon lobby or in the loading screen getting into the dungeon, you're technically not yet in the dungeon, thus if there's any quest progress, you don't receive it. There have been multiple occasions where I have like 24 out of 25 mobs killed for a quest, because some people in the party started before we all got in. This whole loading screen debacle is a problem with the PvP as well, because why in God's name do I have to go into an arena lobby to queue for a fight? Why can't I keep questing while I wait for the queue? There's just a lot of weird stuff like this in Blade & Soul that disrupts the flow of gameplay or just completely confuses me. I have no idea how NCSoft could fix these problems, if they even could fix them, but these weird design choices are huge deterrents to even playing the game. Now you're probably sitting there thinking I'm being melodramatic, but I'm really not. Play the game for dozens of hours like I have, and these things will start to become more and more apparent and really get on your nerves. That's all I gotta say about dungeons and PvP. Let's talk about some crafting. Crafting is really interesting in Blade & Soul. I mean, it isn't even really crafting because all you do is collect the supplies and then order the item you want. To be real, I actually don't hate it. It's a little confusing at first because it's something completely new, but it becomes pretty enjoyable once you get the hang of it. So now there are two categories crafting is split into. The first category is crafting, that consists of the guilds Silver Cauldron, Earthseers, Merry Potters, Acquired Taste, Soul Wardens, Forge Keepers, and Radiant Ring. The second category is gatherers, which consists of the guilds Herbicide Service, Green Thumbs, Tree Fellers, Trappers Alliance, Fish Network, Stonecutters, and the Prospectors Union. You can pick two groups from these two categories, but make sure you do your research. There are multiple guides on what gatherers and crafters work best together. Before signing up for a crafting group, it will show you some of the items they can craft, and while you can choose basing solely off of that, I propose you research extensively. If you choose the wrong guild, it can and will cost you a hefty amount of gold to buy ingredients you need to craft an item. Now you can always just leave one guild and join the one you want, but you'll lose all the progress you had, if that even matters to you. You also don't really get experience for crafting and gathering, you get guild reputation, and the higher you level your reputation, the more you can craft and gather. An important thing to note about gathering in particular is that the guilds require you to order ingredients, but to do that you first need to find the item. This is kind of annoying. They give you a location right below the item you want to order, and you have to find that location via the description. Now I'm sure you can find plenty of guides if you don't want to actually look for it, but it's still kind of an annoying and menial task. From what I've seen, mining is the only resource you actually have to seek out each individual deposit. Seemingly everything else is a one-time find. But in Blade & Soul, however, you aren't mining for ore, you're mining for quartz, which are used by Soul Wardens to make transformation stones that are then used when you break through a weapon. From level 3 to 20, you use Viridian transformation stones to level your equipment, and from 21 to 36, you use Cinderlands transformation stones, and from 37 to 50, you use Moonwater transformation stones, each getting more expensive and harder to acquire. Each of these transformation stones needs a certain amount of quartz from their respective areas, but you can only mine the quartz with the correct pickaxes, so Cinderlands quartz can only be mined with a Cinderlands pick. Oddly enough, pickaxes are actually a bitch to get, and you can only get them through Daily Quest reward boxes from that area, so I can only get a Cinderlands pick from a Cinderlands Daily Quest reward box, which has absolute shit RNG by the way, or Merry Potters can make it, but best believe it goes for a high price in the marketplace. Hopefully what I've said about crafting will help you understand at least the basics and maybe some intricacies of it. Again, there are a ton of guides out there that go very in-depth on crafting, so I encourage you to check those out if you have any more questions. Now it's time for some endgame. So some endgame is, like I said previously, what the game should have been. While leveling, I often felt like I was wasting time if I wasn't doing story quests for the most XP, especially for level 45 to 50. So once you get to 50, it's kind of a huge weight off your shoulders. You can finally do whatever you want. You can farm, craft, do dungeons, PvP, whatever, without any crutches. Once you reach level 50, you can continue to level, and it will add an HM, which stands for Hong Moon, plus a number beside your name to represent how many levels past 50 you have leveled. Gaining Hong Moon levels will reward you with skill points just as regular levels do. Now there are a number of things to do once you reach max level. There's Mushin's Tower, which is an instance-based infinite boss room tower climber that rewards you with equipment, XP, and daily quest reward boxes. And across from Mushin's Tower is the Infinity Tower, where you can face off against NPCs of every class with multiple stages that increase the NPC in difficulty and give you better rewards. You get a multitude of items from this, like upgrade gems, Hong Moon experience scrolls, and currency you can use to buy items, just to name a few things. There's the Grand Harvest Square raid, which happens every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's, of course, my time zone, so you're going to have to do your own conversions. But this rewards you with equipment, XP, and daily quest reward boxes also. You and your faction can kill opposing faction NPCs, which I suppose I can compare to World vs. World and Guild Wars 2. Usually one of your faction lieutenants will get everyone together in a channel in Silverfrost Mountains just outside Grand Harvest Square and start killing Crimson or Cerulean NPCs for some really good loot, XP, and of course daily quest reward boxes. Near this same area there's the Plug Sanctum, which faction members will also get everyone together to kill, and it gives you basically the same thing I've been saying. And then finally there are Battlegrounds, which is a 6v6 PvP mode for only level 50s. Now all this sounds like a lot of fun, however I wouldn't really know because I lag like a motherfucker whenever I go to these events, so I usually just end up dying and then crying myself to sleep. And look, I'm not the kind of person to complain about frame lag, okay? I've had my fair share of playing games with low frame rates and it doesn't ruin the experience for me like it does for a lot of people, but this frame rate is just game-breakingly terrible, and I'm not the only one with these problems. A ton of people are complaining about these same issues. Unity Engine 3 is just completely ruining the game. I want to like Blade & Soul a lot more than I do and do more in the game, but I simply can't. This was the similar problem I had with Terra PvP. It just gets so laggy when too many people are in the same place, and Terra also runs on the Unity Engine 3. And I'd like to talk about the endgame content, but I kind of can't because I can't really experience it. I can't react fast enough to dodge AoEs, I'll lag spike and my game will freeze, and the next thing you know I'm dead. I've gotten to the point where I need soulstones for crafting, I need gold, and I need better equipment, but I can't get it. I especially can't record any of it, and I've stopped trying. And this isn't an issue that can be patched. They can't just patch in a new engine. And so maybe dropping $3,000 on computer parts is the way to play this game. But obviously I'm not going to do that. Nor should I be expected to have a computer with that kind of power to play this free-to-play game from 2012. But enough of me ranting. Enough about the end game. Let's get to the final verdict so you can decide, and maybe I can help you decide whether you want to play Blade & Soul. Alright, a little bit of a recap. The combat is good, the story is fun, Post 45 is pretty fun, still has issues but a large improvement from the rest of the game. The crafting is unique and interesting, dungeons are challenging, equipment upgrading is interesting but not preferable, but soul shields are a really cool addition. The optimization is absolute garbage and basically ruins the game. The story can drag on, and instead of making new storylines they kind of stretch it out and it's getting a little bit annoying. The story also walls off all of the game. You can't get to areas if you don't beat it, so you have to do the story. Now, I know people value a numerical score, but don't listen to this wholeheartedly. This is how I feel about the game, but listen to what I've said and decide whether the game is worth your time or not. So I rate Blade & Soul a 6 out of 10. The game isn't anything amazing, but it isn't complete garbage. It definitely has a place, and if they keep updating as regularly as they are, I'm sure it will maintain a solid fan base. For me though, I can't see me returning to this game. I have no desire to level another character or go much further than I have. I had fun with the game at points, and at the same time, I really didn't. However, if you are interested in playing Blade & Soul after this review is over and after I've given my final verdict, then I definitely encourage you to download it because it's completely free. I did not spend a dime. If you came to this video because you want to find an MMO to play, I encourage you to go to Terra, SWTOR, or Guild Wars 2 before jumping into Blade & Soul. And if you played all of those and want more, Blade & Soul definitely isn't a bad choice, especially with the constant influx of absolute garbage on the MMO market. Now, it's important to mention that I am an MMO jumper, and it takes a lot to keep me coming back to a game, but Blade & Soul, ironically, doesn't really have soul. There's nothing in this game that can't be fulfilled in any other number of MMOs. And maybe my problem is that none of my friends play this game, so perhaps getting a few of your friends together will help you enjoy the game a lot more. And a few months ago when the game was really fresh and new, I made a PvP video, and clearly in the video we're having a shitload of fun, but we were also pretty low levels, and neither of the two that are in the video play the game anymore or have any desire to play the game ever again. But those are my thoughts on Blade and Soul. Do you agree? Do you not? Let me know why, and maybe fill in people on some things I missed. I'm not a competitive MMO player. I don't want to be the best. I just want to have fun, so I'm sure I maybe might have missed some things. Additionally, if you want to let me know I'm fucking dumb, you can always do that too.
Oh.